These people had one thing in common. They knew they had potential within themselves, that they could be something beyond where they were. They were willing to devote time and energy to improve themselves. What you can really accomplish with more skills is remarkable. I would like to share some short stories and perhaps draw some lessons from them. I will talk about two women who sold their businesses to Berkshire Hathaway, to me, actually, for millions and millions of dollars. Both started with exactly $2,500. By coincidence, it was all they had. One of them was a woman who arrived in Seattle in 1917 without speaking a word of English, with a tag around her neck that said, Fort Dodge, Iowa. The Red Cross took her to Fort Dodge, where she was reunited with her husband, who had come to the country a few years earlier. She lived in Fort Dodge for 2 years and, as she herself said, felt incapable because she couldn't learn the language. Then, she and her husband decided to move to Omaha, where they arrived in 1919 and found a small colony of Russian Jews, which made her feel more at home. As her oldest daughter began to attend school, she would come home and teach her mother the words she had learned that day. This woman, Rose Blumpkin, spent 20 years saving money, first bringing her brothers and then her parents $50 at a time. She sold used clothing to accomplish this and, during this time, had 4 children. In 1937, after 20 years, she had saved $2,500 and went to Chicago to buy what she could in furniture. Her dream had always been to open a furniture store. This woman, who had never attended school a day in her life and started with $2,500, but with the same spirit that people in this room possess about having a dream and working to make it come true, built a business that sold to me in 1983 for about $60 million. The last time I checked, that business made approximately $1.5 billion in sales. The 4th generation is now working in that company. Rose Blumpkin worked with me until she I saw another woman who did something similar, starting with $2,500, and I paid hundreds of millions of dollars for her business. So, I decided to go back to the roots and meet them. I don't want you to come to me asking for hundreds of millions of dollars. I'd actually like to join you earlier. So I followed this group, and today I will talk about another person in the small business world. This person whom I was going to buy the business from actually turned me down, which was very wise. He was born about 8 years before me, in 1922, and lived in the Midwest. He was a good athlete but didn't like school very much. I can tell you something right from the start that might help you figure out who he is. The company he built employs more graduates than any other company in the United States. This young man, who didn't know he was destined for success, went to college for 1 year and then dropped out. The year he dropped out was 1941, and when the country started to be attacked, he went to an Army Air Force recruiting station. He offered to volunteer but was turned down due to hay fever. Then, he joined the Navy, where he was accepted. He was placed on an aircraft carrier and piloted small planes during World War II, earning 2 distinguished flying crosses from the Navy. After returning to the Midwest, he changed jobs until he became a car salesman at a Cadillac dealership in St. Louis, Missouri. At 35, having progressed in the sales organization, he asked his boss if he could start a car leasing company with him. The boss said that if he accepted a 50% pay cut and raised $25,000, they could become partners. Thus, my friend Jack started, at 35, in the car leasing business with only 7 vehicles. It was a slow start. In fact, he had a curious but he was determined to offer a different and friendlier customer service than anyone else. He named his company after the warship he served on in the Pacific, the USS Enterprise. Jack passed away about a year and a half ago, but at his death, his car rental company, which started with those 17 vehicles, was worth more than Hertz, Avis, and all the others combined. This man's name was Jack Taylor, and his son, Andy Taylor, is a good friend of mine who currently runs the business. There's even a grandson working in the company, and it will probably be a 4th-generation business. This man, in the United States, didn't invent artificial intelligence. He didn't do anything we couldn't have done. Just like Mrs. B, with her furniture, any one of us could have entered these businesses. But he lived by a creed based on delighting his customers and working as a team, creating relationships that inspired customers to want to return. He couldn't be present at all the car rental locations, but he learned to project his image and attitude onto those around him, seeking to create a friendship with each customer. He took ordinary cars and turned them into an extraordinary business, practically from nothing. And this requires the education I'm sure you've received through 10,000 small businesses, but it also necessitates a genuine desire, day in and day out, to delight the customer. I have never seen a business, and I've seen many, that truly delights its customers that hasn't succeeded. Quite the opposite. I challenge you to think about when you buy something. You may forget the price, but you will never forget how you were treated. It's hard to find someone who has had a delightful experience in any purchase who doesn't return. If the memory is one of indifference or disdain, you will never come back. As a small business owner, as you grow, you must be able not only to project that interest in people's well-being, but also to do it through other people. And you can't do that with employees who don't feel well treated or who feel their opinions aren't valued. So, you really need to learn how to multiply your impact through other people. I advise young people who come to Omaha to attend the various classes we offer. The key, in terms of I have been incredibly fortunate in this regard. I have had teachers, friends, and a spouse who have always been better than me. I had enough discernment to learn from these people that life gets better when you behave properly. It takes time, but I advise you to seek business partners in life, and whatever it may be, looking for those who are examples you wish to follow, instead of people you feel you need to correct. Simple rules like these, delighting customers, working as a team, associating with people who will lead you to a better path, can take you very far in life, further than you can imagine. They transformed Rose Blumpkin, who didn't speak a word of English, didn't know how to read or write, into a business worth $1.5 billion. And by the way, There was no additional capital after the $2,500 she invested in Nebraska Furniture Mart. If you look at Enterprise, I don't know their books, but what I imagine is that very little equity capital was added over the years. The business sustained itself. I want you to know that I immensely admire this group. When I met Dr. Mello's group on September 22nd, 8 years ago, I was excited. And I admire the people who are doing what you have been doing, working hard at your jobs while at the same time taking on the difficult task of improving your skills. The statistic of 99 graduates is impressive, and I am looking at 2,200 people here whom I admire. I am rooting for you, and I can assure you that the best is yet to come. Thank you.